but it didn't make sense to us. Right, so starting with. Okay, so the idea here was that basically we were trying to bring together several kind of streams. The two main arguments that we wanted to focus on were what's in for me in terms of councillors, so why councillors should adopt deliberative democracy, and then also how do you make a cultural change, and so how do you make deliberative democracy a norm. So we thought that first of all we tried to work on a kind of pros and cons sort of basis. I'm not going to go through all the points here, but the idea was that if you want to make a convincing argument that councillors can use and buy into and adopt, you have to show that if there are barriers, then there are also solutions to them, and that deliberative democracy can actually help to address those barriers. So if we were to put this into something practical, we thought, well, we will want to go and talk directly to councillors. And we thought of working on three kind of lines. The first one would be to translate this into a kind of a manifesto, something that is easy to understand and straightforward. And again, when we outline the barriers and the solutions that can be provided through deliberative democracy. Then the second bit would be like the organization of a workshop with councillors, maybe through the LGA or through the type of sessions that council held that look like some form of training for them. Do you want to say a bit more on this, Just?
The sort of third part is sort of what we've mainly produced, and it's more focused around the what's in it for councillors and how to convince councillors themselves and council leaders to perform this sort of deliberative democracy. And we had the idea of, with the manifesto, of sort of going in to what, obviously as not a councillor, so sort of, you probably know more about this than I do, of seminars, sort of councillor seminars and councillor meetings where organisations and groups can go and sort of discuss and present ideas to actual council members. During this, we wanted to we'd ask the councillors themselves what they saw as potential problems and barriers to the actual implementation of these issues, and using the manifesto, hopefully we can come up with responses and reasons and arguments against what they see as the problems with the issue, and sort of try and convince them through their own short or lack of foresight towards it, I suppose, of what they can do and why this is a good idea for them.
The second point, do you want me to say the second point? So the first one was more like on the idea of why we should adopt deliberative democracy, and maybe we also thought that if you want to convince councillors in a way, you have to provide something that is practical and that there is evidence that shows that it can be used. So from the more general arguments in favor of deliberative democracy, then we move on to specific policy areas or issues on which that can be acted upon through deliberative democracy. And so again, that would help to show the value of this type of instrument. And then the final bit.
Yeah, the final bit is to sort of report our findings, case studies, as examples to provide for other sort of councils in the area. We did a very sort of marketing approach to this, where we discussed mainly early adopters and sort of the jump between the early adopters and what is the early mainstream in making it into the mainstream society. So we had the ideas of introducing it slowly through smaller scale projects and hopefully expanding from there into the mainstream. Now I'm sure you've all got a few issues with that, and we did discuss them, but which would still need to be overcome with making that leap. But the idea is to get those key examples on paper so that other councillors and other council leaders don't have an excuse to say it's never been tried, and sort of having an actual physical representation of what can happen when this is done well.
Yeah, and so On top of this, we would perhaps also provide them with like some boring paperwork, but if they want to see the evidence, then we provide also the facts there. So we would generally use an interactive approach with them. It's not just us telling them what they should do, but for them to understand. It's a kind of a learning process where they understand what is the added value in this, plus all the hard evidence on top of that.
Good stuff.